Jeffrey Dahmer, a notorious serial killer that is the only serial killer featured in one of Katy Perry's songs, goes a little something like this. He murdered 17 males in a truly horrific fashion: rape, dismemberment, necrophilia, and cannibalism.
Dahmer was born on May 21st in 1960. He had a pretty normal childhood until things got a little bit funky. He had to get a surgery to correct a double hernia, and he became withdrawn from his family after the birth of his younger brother and his family's frequent moves. As Dahmer was getting older, he took interest in looking at animal carcasses, and he started drinking a little bit too heavy underage.
After Dahmer graduated high school in 1978, he was 18 and he was ready to kill. Jeffrey's first victim was a hitchhiker named Stephen Hicks. They were going back to Jeffrey's house to drink juice because they weren't allowed to drink beer because they were 18. Hicks openly said he wanted to leave, but Jeffrey didn't want him to, so he hit him over the head with a 10-pound dumbbell. Dahmer dissected, dissolved, pulverized, and scattered the remains of Stephen in his backyard. It would be 9 years before he killed again. Ooh, scary.
During those 9 years, Dahmer attended Ohio State but dropped out because he drank a little too much juice. After college, his father forced him into the Army, and his juice problem continued, so he had to go live with Granny. Dahmer began to approach men at gay bars, and he would promise them money or sex, and he would strangle them, kill them, rape them, and distort them. Dahmer had 17 victims by the time he was arrested.
Dahmer was arrested twice before for incidents of indecent exposure in 1982 and 1986. He was not charged for rape, but he was on probation. On another incident, Dahmer was arrested for sexually fondling a 13-year-old boy. He was sentenced to 5 years probation, and he had to register as a sexual offender.
Dahmer was arrested on July 22, 1991, after 2 Milwaukee police officers picked up Tracy Edwards. He was actually wandering the streets with a handcuff dangling from his wrist, so they decided to investigate the man's claims on Dahmer. When the police arrived at Dahmer's apartment, he calmly offered to get the keys for the handcuffs and handed them over. Dahmer's trial began in January of 1992, and he initially pled guilty to the virtue of insanity. Although the court didn't believe him, so on February 15th in 1992, he was sentenced with 15 life sentences in prison, with another life sentence tacked on in May. Dahmer was guilty as charged. Dahmer never got to live a happy life. He was never married, and he didn't have any children. He actually got killed in prison, and this is how.
On the morning of November 28, 1994, Scarver was assigned to a work detail with Jesse Anderson, an infamous serial killer, Jeffrey Dahmer, that included cleaning the prison gymnasium toilet. Jesse Anderson was serving a life sentence for stabbing his wife multiple times in the face and head with a knife. He then made up a story and tried to blame the brutal murder on a couple black men. Jeffrey Dahmer was a well-known serial killer that would lure young men to his home, where he would murder them so he could eat their corpse and save their body parts as trophies. When corrections officers left the 3 unsupervised, Scarver beat the other 2 men with a 20-inch metal bar that he had removed from a piece of exercise equipment in the prison weight room. When he returned to his cell early, an officer asked him why he was not still working. During that time, 2 officers found Dahmer and Anderson. Dahmer was pronounced dead from extensive injuries while on his way to the hospital, and Anderson died 2 days later. When questioned on why he had attacked the two, Scarver said he didn't believe that either men were repentant for their crimes. He said that Dahmer had taunted other inmates by constructing severed limbs out of food and ketchup. After being found competent to stand trial, Scarver received 2 more life sentences for these murders.
There's no going back.
She's a beast.
I call her Karma.
She eats your heart out.
Like Jeffrey Dahmer. Be careful! Try not to lead her on.
Shotty's hot's on steroids.
Cause your love is so strong!